What is up here, YouTube? Jigsaw0097 here today. Sorry about the weird camera angle, but I want to keep the Nick Foles jersey in sight for this video, guys. This is going to be a longer video, so I'm basically going to give the entire rundown of Nick Foles for people that may or may not know what this dude has done for the Eagles, why he actually is very important. And we had our doubts with him this season, but we all knew, guys, we all knew what Nick Foles is, okay? He's born and bred Eagle. So I'm going to make this video, and keep in mind, I apologize in advance, my stats are going to be a little off because I'm going completely off memory here. I don't have any like stats in front of me. I'm kind of just winging this video, but my memory's good enough to where you can get the gist of it. So back in 2012, this is a draft that had Russell Wilson, Earl Thomas, I believe. That's actually when we drafted Brandon Graham, but Andy Reid drafts Nick Foles, okay? Now, keep in mind, he could have drafted Russell Wilson. I keep reading that Russell Wilson was on the board, and Andy Reid just never got him. So they drafted Russell Wilson, and then he was forced to take Nick Foles. Now, 2012, he didn't play much. He played a couple games, and he was in that Buccaneers game. That was the first time I was kind of like, I see you, Nick, when he played the Buccaneers. And they won that game in 2012. 2012 was a miserable season. I think they finished like 4-12. Terrible season. That was the year, finally, they fire Andy Reid. So they bring in Chip Kelly. This is really when I started becoming diehard Eagles again. Like I was an Eagles fan since like 2000, since the Super Bowl. You know, I kind of liked them, but this was the year where I really started watching the team closely. So you can kind of say that I started watching Eagles football religiously in the Chip Kelly era. So basically, they hire Chip Kelly. Michael Vick is the starter. And the Eagles get off to a really bad start that year. I think like 4-5 was the beginning of the year. And Michael Vick gets injured. He pulls his hamstring in a Giants game. In comes Nick Foles, guys. This was a guy, again, we saw like only flashes of him in 2012. We had no clue what this guy was. He comes in, man, and he just starts winging the ball up like he doesn't give a damn. He's throwing touchdowns. We win that game. We beat the Giants. And pretty much we go on like a 7-game win streak from there. You guys all remember, too, the reason I actually bought the jersey like that in the white is because that was the color that Nick Foles was wearing when he threw 7 touchdowns in Oakland. That basically after that game, I was sold. Then there was the snow game in Detroit, one of the best Eagles games I've ever watched. It was a freaking blizzard in Philadelphia and Detroit Lions. Coincidentally, Jim Schwartz was actually the Lions coach at that time, which was crazy. Just crazy how things happen in this league. Things come full circle. But we were playing against a Jim Schwartz defense in a blizzard. Nick Foles came out to play. He threw a couple passes to Deshaun Jackson. I think he had a touchdown. And then, you know, that was the Shady McCoy show, basically. But against a Jim Schwartz defense, Nick Foles comes out on top. And we go on to get to the playoffs, guys. Like I said, they go on a 7-game winning streak. I think they only lost to Minnesota. That was the one loss going into the playoffs. And then we had that crazy game against Dallas at the end of the season. They were using Kyle Orton. But they make it into the playoffs. And, of course, we know the Saints beat them. It wasn't Nick Foles' fault. It was a complete defensive implosion. And, again, full circle, weird thing here. The reason we lost is because they ran Darren Sproles all over us, the freaking Saints. And the next offseason was when we got Darren Sproles and Malcolm Jenkins from the Saints. So, crazy how things like that work out. But we lose that year, guys. And then going into 2014, this was when I kind of started to wane on Chip Kelly a little bit. Like, I was all on the Chip bandwagon, you know, in Chip we trust that first year. And then he trades, well, not even trades, he waives Deshaun Jackson. He got rid of Deshaun Jackson because apparently he had gang ties or something like that. So that was really when I started scratching my head, because if you remember, that was one of the reasons Nick Foles did so well in 2013, is he had a guy like Deshaun Jackson to spread the defenses, you know, getting guys like Riley Cooper open. I think Jason Avant was on the team. Zach Ertz was a rookie in 2013. And so when they got rid of Deshaun Jackson, And the way they did it, just letting him walk, they didn't even try to, and then letting him sign with the Redskins, that was when I really was getting like, all right, this Chip Kelly guy. And then we saw it in 2014. The Eagles' offense wasn't nearly as explosive, you know. Shady McCoy was being contained. He had a great season. I think he had like 1,500 yards rushing or something like that in 2013. And it was dropped down to like barely 1,000. I can't remember. But he suffered that year. And then also, you know, the field wasn't getting stretched as much. You know, Riley Cooper was starting to show how average he really was. And then, what's his freak? I'm drawing a blank. Jeremy Maclin, sorry. Jeremy Maclin, he was basically like our star receiver, and he had a couple flashes like against the Cardinals and stuff like that. But the Eagles get off to a really good start that year. I think they went like 9-2. I can't remember before they started losing. But if you guys remember, Nick Foles went down against the Texans. That was, I think it was Merciless that injured him. He went down against the Texans, and it was really sad because that was all she wrote for Nick. He was traded later, which I will get into, but it's really sad that that's how he went out because a lot of Eagles fans feel like he has unfinished business. He had unfinished business, and it was really irritating. So we go on to lose the next 3 games. There was 4 more games. We lost 3 out of 4. The only one we beat was a game against. No, we beat Dallas on Thanksgiving, and that was when the losing streak started. Was after that. And then keep in mind we had Mark Sanchez under center after that. It was really annoying to watch. That was one time when I was like annoyed being an Eagles fan. You know, I watch this team no matter what now, but back then I was like, this is annoying because I always hated Mark Sanchez. The butt fumble, you know, you can't escape that. So we don't get into the playoffs, guys. The second season in a row, Chip Kelly goes 10-6. They don't get into the playoffs this time because you guys remember that Dallas game where Josh Huff muffed the punt return right in the beginning of the game. Just terrible. So they lose that game, and they miss the playoffs. Now we go into when Chip Kelly, when everyone is starting to just crucify this guy, rightfully so. This is arguably some of the dumbest stuff you'll ever see as a football fan. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. So Chip Kelly trades LaShawn McCoy, pretty much one of the best running backs in the league at the time, arguably still, to the freaking Buffalo Bills for Kiko Alonso. I was so livid. I mean, I can't even express to you how angry that made me. And then, to put a cherry on top of the turd cake that was already made in our honor, he trades Nick Foles for Sam Bradford, guys. Sammy, always injured, long sleeves, mopey face Bradford from the St. Louis Rams, which is pretty much what anyone knew him as right then. So we go into this, and there is like a conspiracy out there. I won't get too much into it, that Chip Kelly did all of this so that he could try to move up in the draft to get Marcus Mariota. But if that was the plan, then, man, did he fail. He utterly failed because he also brings in guys like Byron Maxwell and gives them fat contracts. After he trades LaShawn McCoy, it was almost seen as like a panic move. He brings in DeMarco Murray from Dallas and gives him like a 6-year deal. It was all just brain dead stuff happening. And as Eagles fans, we were trying to keep it together. But deep down, we knew that this was going to be a rough season. And so we go into 2015, and it was honestly one of the worst seasons I've watched as an Eagles fan since that 2012 season. And it was abysmal, guys. Abysmal. We had Sam Bradford in there who showed flashes. The best part of that season was that they went into Foxborough and they beat the Patriots. That was pretty much the highlight of the season and one of the highlights of the Chip Kelly era, honestly. But we had Mark Sanchez get blown out by the Buccaneers. You know, Jameis Winston threw up 5 touchdowns. Then we had them lose on Thanksgiving to the Detroit Lions in a very embarrassing fashion. It was just really bad. So they limp through the 2015 season, and it's the Redskins game, I remember. At the end of the game, it's like we're behind, and Chip Kelly's bringing out the punt squad, and you hear the Philadelphia crowd just boo him off of the field. And you can just tell right there. I mean, Jason Peters was sitting on the bench. He didn't want to go out and play. When do you see Jason Peters quit, guys? When was that ever a thing? So this team had given up on Chip Kelly. He had lost the locker room in just 3 years. this team was done. And we thought we were going into 2016 again. I didn't think they were going to get rid of him, but the news came out after that Redskins game. We had one more game to play against the New York Giants. They fired Chip Kelly before the season even ends, and Pat Shurmur as interim head coach, because he was the offensive coordinator at the time, comes in to coach that final game against the Giants, which the Eagles did win. So right there, man, it was the shift. Obviously, I won't go too much into 2016. You guys know what happened. We drafted Carson Wentz. Chase McDaniel was our backup quarterback, and it was a very average season last year, but there was a lot of hope. You know, they finished 9-7. There was a lot of hope going into this season. This is where it gets great, guys. So Nick Foles was on the Chiefs in 2016. He got brought back by Andy Reid, and I think that I'm trying to think if he was on there when Doug Peterson was the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. I can't remember. But this is where the Cinderella story comes in, guys, because Nick Foles, I made a video about this, actually. I'll probably link some of these in the description if you guys want to check those out. But when they brought in Foles, I said that we have the best quarterback situation in the league now. I was dead serious about that, because you have a guy like Carson Wentz, who's a young stud, and then you bring in Nick Foles, which in my opinion is not a backup. He never was. He was always a starter in my eyes. I hear the argument all the time that he's inconsistent, but I'm thinking, I mean, look at Matt Ryan. Why does Matt Ryan get a starting accolade over a guy like Nick Foles? They're almost the same quarterback. I mean, Andy Dalton, another guy that's really just not that good. Nick Foles is better. So I could get into that argument all in its own, that Nick Foles deserves to be a starter in this league, but that's whatever. Keep in mind, the biggest shade people throw on Nick Foles, too, is when he was under Jeff Fisher, which we all know he's a quarterback killer. Just look at Case Keenum, Jared Goff. All these guys that were under him are now doing pretty well. Case Keenum, after the game, we'll see, but he still has done better than he did on the Rams, that's for sure. So anyway, they bring in Nick Foles. I made a video about it. I was super excited about it. I didn't think Carson Wentz would tear his ACL, but there's always that chance, guys, that your guy can get injured, and it's always good to have that security blanket. So when they brought in Foles over Chase McDaniel, and I saw what they paid Foles, I was like, this is much better. I think they're giving Foles like $5 million. They were giving Chase Daniel way more than that. And so, yeah, the season goes on, guys. As you know, the Eagles are just burning through people. Carson Wentz goes down in that St. Louis or that LA Rams game, and in comes Nick Foles, and he has some pretty he has some rust to shake off, guys. He doesn't come in just completely great, but just the way that this season has progressed with him winning the NFC Championship game against the Minnesota Vikings, beating Atlanta, you know, this defense obviously has a huge role. I'm not downplaying them at all. This is a really complete team. But, I mean, Nick Foles looked like Carson Wentz last night, guys. It was very impressive. I mean, this dude pump faked on a play. He was, like, running up and throwing the ball downfield to Torrey Smith. They did that flea flicker play. I mean, it was great. He had confidence in the pocket. He was just stepping up, making the throws. He was getting hit on a couple of them, but it didn't rattle him, guys. This is one of the best stories I've ever seen in football, because this is a dude, like I said, Chip Kelly traded him because he wasn't good enough for Sam Bradford. Guess who's sitting on the sidelines last night at the Minnesota game? Sam Bradford. He's sitting on the Minnesota sideline, a guy that we traded, Nick Foles, who's now under center where he belongs in midnight green, dismantling the Vikings defense. Also, keep in mind, the pick that we got for trading Sam Bradford, Derek Barnett, is making plays on Case Keenum all game. This is an amazing story, guys, and that's what I wanted to make this video about mostly. This is a Cinderella story if I've ever seen one. Nick Foles is back where he belongs. He is at the verge of greatness. If he goes in and beats the Patriots in 2 weeks, which I really think the Eagles have a shot. Again, they're like 5.5 underdogs, which is the way we like it. But, I mean, let them doubt, because I think the Eagles have a really good shot. The Jaguars almost had beaten the Patriots, and had they not just completely imploded in the end with, there was a couple questionable calls, but I don't like to blame the officiating too much. The Jaguars basically just couldn't move the sticks at the end, and their defense they weren't rotating, guys. This is something the Eagles do great at. I mean, if you look at when the Giants beat the Patriots twice, it was a lot like this Eagles team. I mean, Eli Manning wasn't expected to be a superstar. He was just expected to get the job done, and that defense came out to destroy. But against the Minnesota Vikings, Nick Foles, it was all about the offense. Nick Foles was just destroying them. Michael Irvin said he would only have like 88 yards. He'd get sacked 88 times. He had like 350-something yards, guys. 3 touchdowns. The guy was on fire, like 141 QBR. That's insane. This is like we got the Nick Foles from 2013 back. That's why this is such a great story. He went away for a while. He came back to where he belongs. So, anyway, guys, I've rambled enough. I've kind of tried to give you the history of Nick Foles in case you guys didn't know what he means to this city and this fan base. And there were people that were doubting, which I'm not trying to throw shade. Some Eagles fans are getting mad at the doubters, but Nick Foles did cause some... He gave us some reasons to concern in the beginning, but, you know, you got to also give props to Doug Peterson heavily because he found a way to get Nick Foles back in rhythm. If that means he has to go back to the Chip Kelly style of offense to get this going, so be it. Do the run-pass option, you know. Do the read option. Whatever you got to do. Also, I really like the way they used Jay Ajayi last night. That dude is explosive when he's not fumbling. So, the Eagles did great. So, this is something to be happy about, guys. This is a great way to go into the Super Bowl, too. Nick Foles is going in hot as fire, okay? He is not injured, guys. We have no injuries on this team as right now. This team is going in hot. Nick Foles leading the charge. Torrey Smith dropped a ball in the game, but he came back and made a touchdown, gaining his confidence. So this team is going in with really, after that, that was what needed to happen. They needed to blow out the Vikings, which is something I thought they could do, but if you saw my prediction video, I didn't really think it would go this way. But man, am I so glad to be wrong, and I'm so glad it did go this way because they're going in red hot. Nick Foles is going to go in playing with a chip on his shoulder. They're going to be underdogs again. This could be a chance for them to end the Patriots dynasty. How beautiful would that be with all the news that's been happening about the Patriots internally not doing very well? That this might be Belichick's last year. You know, he traded Garoppolo to the 49ers. How great would it be for the Eagles to be the ones to end the Patriots dynasty, guys? That would be something great. So the Cinderella story is not over. Like, that's what I'm getting at here. We got one more win, but this is great, guys. Nick Foles has come back to the Eagles. He's back where he belongs. He's going to be wearing this jersey again Super Bowl Sunday, the white Foles jersey. So get ready for it, guys. But what do you think about this? Do you think that the Eagles are destined to win the Super Bowl? I don't like using that term because that's what the Vikings did, and look what happened. But I just feel like this is a special year, guys. But anyway, whatever you guys think, comment down below. Go ahead and like the video, dislike the video, whatever you want. Just let me know that I'm doing something on here. And also, if you want, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos here. Basically, great thing about the Eagles, there's never going to be things to not talk about. So you can expect many videos. And yeah, guys, as always as well, I want to thank you for watching all my videos, especially if you got this far. This is a long video, and I appreciate it. But as always, guys, this is Jigsaw0097 here. Number 9, baby. Nick 6 is going to the Super Bowl. Let's get this win. I'll talk to you all later.